the impact this is going to have to the local economy is huge, but it's going to have an impact on multiple economies. We have investors all over the world, and when they hit, and if it's the hit that we think that they're going to have on this first go around, it's going to change communities overnight. There will be people walking around who are now accredited investors, who are now multi-millionaires, who have never seen that kind of money before. So I personally believe it's going to change communities overnight. I think it's going to be pretty cool to watch. I don't know that we can quantify the impact that this company is really going to have, not just on our local economy, but on the world. My name is Matt Helmintoller. I'm the founder of Legacy Angel Network. Legacy Angel Network is a local group of investors who find unique and viable companies to invest in. We vet those companies, determine whether or not we want to put them in front of our group, and then we help the companies grow once we've funded them. You know, one day I was doing the rounds with going to visit a couple of the companies here locally that we invested in. The founder of that company said, "Hey man, I have this friend, Kyle Kennedy, that I want you to meet, and he might want to get some funding." Most of my conversations these days kind of go like that, and so I'm prepared 98% of the time to say no. But Kyle's story was it was interesting to say the least. And Kyle asked me very politely, "Hey, could I get some of your time?" And so we made an appointment, and then Kyle began to tell me this crazy, fantastic story about his company, Seafarer, and how they got started. It was almost too fantastic. Like when he was telling me, "Hey, we have priced all these ships and galleons off the Florida coast. We're gonna hit treasure. We're gonna do all this stuff." It was like a television show that I wanted to watch, but I did not believe him whatsoever. But as a favor to my friend, as a favor to Kyle, because I liked him so much, I just thought, hey, I'm gonna introduce him to one or two of my investors, and some of my guys are divers and they're into this stuff, and I'll just, I'll play around with it. And so I set up a meeting with Kyle and one of my investors, and I was shocked when this investor, sitting in his restaurant that he owned, just cut a check for, I'm not gonna say the amount, but just cut a check and invested right into the company. And our business model is, once we invest in a company, we do everything we possibly can to make sure that company succeeds. And so when that guy stroked the check, I knew at that moment my journey with Kyle was just beginning. And so he cut the check, and then Kyle and I met a couple more times, and I really started to dive into his company and understand what was good, and then also too what he needed help with. And that's really kind of where our journey started. So Kyle and I are talking one day, and he says to me, "Matt, it'd be a whole lot better if it'd make everything a whole lot easier if we knew what we were looking at." And I said, well, explain that to me. And so Kyle says to me, I'm finding thousands of nails, I'm finding tin cans, I'm finding tires and lawn chairs, and you name it, he finds it. Car batteries. I mean, they're finding a ton of stuff down there. And he goes, "Matt, I want to know what I'm seeing." And I asked him, I said, "So what do you do? How are you finding what you're finding now?" And he said, "Well, we have the cesium magnetometer, which just kind of like goes along the ocean floor, and if it's iron or it's a metal or something, we're going to see it there. But the problem is there's like millions of pieces of this metal and iron and whatever all over the ocean floor scattered. So it's worse than a needle in a haystack." And he goes, "I want to know what it is. I want to know what kind of metal it is, how deep it is, what shape it is. I want to know what I'm looking at, so I'm not wasting any more of my time or my investors' money on finding something that may or may not be there where we think it is. He goes, well, do you know anyone? Do you know anyone that could help me make that? And then that's when I thought back to a friend of mine that actually helped me get into the business that I'm doing now. He's a commercialization expert, Tim Reynolds. He's really good at taking complex problems and then taking multiple technologies and surrounding those problems with a solution using those technologies. He's freaking brilliant. So I thought if it could be done, Tim could do it. And if it can't be done, I need to know so I don't put any more of our investors' dollars into this company. So lo and behold, I introduced him to Tim Reynolds. Yeah, watching Kyle and Tim together in the same room, these guys couldn't be any more different. But both of these guys have a lot to say. And so watching them in a meeting, Tim talks the tech, he talks the science, he talks the strategy, and then Kyle's coming at it from the business side. Kyle's coming at it from the, hey, let's make sure the world knows how great this company is going to be. And watching these guys kind of go down the path together has been really, really fun and at times very, very comical. You need both a Tim and a Kyle to make a company like this roll. You need someone like Kyle who is the eternal optimist. This guy, if there's a problem, he'll say, all right, how do we solve it? So he's the kind of guy you want to go to when you need a pick-me-up. And the guy is he's a motivator. And Tim, not that he's not a motivator, but Tim stays in his lane. But not only is he a commercialization expert, but he was hired by the government essentially to find people and things that didn't want to be found. And so his background in that and his understanding of geolocation and all of those things, all of those principles and those things that he's been trained in, that he's studied his entire life, he has put into practice into creating this device, along with his team. I mean, just absolutely brilliant people doing it together. Tim has been absolutely exceptional. And Tim just is a steady voice that brings everybody back down to where the company is. Here's where we are. So you have this optimist and you have a realist, and together they make each other better. They make each other sharper. They stretch each other. And so it's been really neat to kind of watch those two worlds collide. They're both men of integrity. They both are guys that try and do the right thing. Which is pivotal when you're getting involved in a company like this, because treasure hunters. I didn't say this earlier, but one of the reasons why I wasn't gonna take Kyle too seriously in the beginning is because treasure hunters kind of typically have a reputation, and Kyle has proven over and over and over, not just the things he's done in public, but more what he's done in private, that he's just not that kind of man. So it's been an honor and a privilege to kind of watch this thing evolve, and we're super optimistic for the future. I mean, we know our tech works. We know we have some really cool sites that we're exploring right now, and I'm very optimistic about the data that we've been given on these sites. So, I mean, one reason why a lot of my investors put into Seafarer, the first thing is it's an adventure. It's just fun. We know historically that these ships sailed in these oceans and that they went down, which is absolutely tragic. But we know that it happened. We know historically that it happened. So investors love the history and the adventure and having stock in a treasure hunting company. But why a lot of the guys and gals have invested in the company, they're looking at the technology, and they're looking at all the rights to these ships and guys off the Florida coast, and they're saying if the technology is real, and it is, if their systems and processes are good, and they are, then really what we've done here is we've taken something that could have been, I don't know, taken another 20 years, and through putting all the right processes in place and putting the right people in place, we've brought it right back down to here. And so that's the place that our investors like to invest in, right? When you're an angel investor, you want to get in as early as you can for the best price that you can, and you want to exit when they have, you know, some success. And for this particular investment, it's nice because the barrier to entry is so low to participate in this penny stock company, which they're more than that. I think they're way undervalued. I'm not a financial advisor, just so you know, but I think they're greatly undervalued. And if you're an investor, you want a low barrier to entry, and you want a potentially very high return. And that's what's nice about investing in Seafarer. Whether you're buying it privately or you go onto E-Trade and you pick some up on the open market, the barrier to entry is very low, and the reward, the risk reward, the reward is so potentially very high, that it makes sense. And so it's one of the companies in our portfolio that I've never really had too much difficulty raising capital for this company to keep improving on the technology, to keep the divers in the water, to keep the boats in the water, to continue to put all the systems and processes in place that are going to make this company successful for a long time. Our investors, by and large, have just continued to look at it and recommend it to others. And I've in all of our portfolio companies that we have, this has by far been the easiest one to raise capital for.
What looks like the involvement is.
Yeah, if you're an investor and you want to look into something like this, there's really two ways to go about investing in a company like this. First one, go on the open market. You go into your E-Trade account, whatever you got going on, and you can invest right there. The ticker is SFRX. It's easy. It's an easy enough thing to do. If you want your dollars to go into the company privately and you want to help fund some of these cool things that they're doing, best thing to do would be to reach out to Seafarer directly, reach out to Legacy Angel Network as well, and we can show you how to do that. But typically, when you buy private stock from a company that's publicly traded, you buy the stock at a discount. You have to hold it for a certain period of time, anywhere from 6 months to a year. With Seafarer, it happens to be 6 months. After 6 months, then you work through some other channels to move it into your private portfolio. But getting involved with a company like this on that level is actually extremely easy. And if you have the one thing I like about this company too, and it's actually what's made them super nimble, is that if you have other ways that you can contribute to this company, if you have other connections and different things that can help take this company further faster, they have the people that will sit down with you and listen to you. So if you're an investor that this doesn't have just the capital, but you have the know-how to be involved in something like this and to help contribute, they're also open to that. And that's really what's, I think, helped this company along in the last two and a half years, is that the investors have really started to get involved and lend and lean their own personal networks and their own capabilities to put around this company to lift it up and to help it along. And we felt it, we've seen it. Certainly many of our investors have done that, but we've seen it happen too from all sides. So yeah, I think the potential this has for local people that have invested in this company is huge. It's really, it's not just even our investors, it's really good for our local economy. After we make public some fines that we get in the future, that's going to put the world's eye right back here on the Treasure Coast, and not because we got lucky and found something out in the water, because we put the time in to find something, but because we've created technology that finds this stuff. And so that technology has so many applications, and this is not only the treasure coast, this is the space coast. There's so much potential for other uses of this technology, which really gets our investors excited. It gets our local people excited too. We've had local government agencies and all different kinds of people come to us and say, hey, could we use this for this? Could we use this for that? I was talking with a guy that owns a major construction company that's nationwide the other day. He called me up and invested in a company, and he said, hey, could I use this for locating wire and cable underneath the ground, because it never is where they say it is. And I said, well, you could, but we're not doing that right now. And the impact this is going to have to the local economy is huge, but it's going to have an impact on multiple economies. We have investors all over the world, and when they hit, and if it's the hit that we think that they're going to have on this first go around, it's going to change communities overnight. There will be people walking around who are now accredited investors, who are now multi-millionaires, who have never seen that kind of money before. So I personally believe it's going to change communities overnight. I think it's going to be pretty cool to watch. I don't know that we can quantify the impact that this company is really going to have, not just on our local economy, but on the world.